Hello, everyone, and welcome to an episode of Faerie, Fable, Librarians. I'm Simona.
I'm Katie.
And today we're going to be talking about Season 4 of Castlevania, which is on Netflix. So if you haven't yet watched it, watch it, come back at another time, and leave your comments and let us know what you think. So Season 4 picks up directly from the previous season. A lot happens in Season 4. It's also the final season, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah, it is.
Of the show. So in this season, essentially a group of vampires wants to resurrect Dracula, bring him back into the world, and kind of fulfill his mission of essentially enslaving humanity.
The human race within the Eastern European region of which they live in.
Yes. One of the vampires, Carmilla, has some bigger ambitions.
Oh, she's a psycho.
Yeah, driven by her sort of need, I think, to prove to the men who have wronged her in her life that she is just as good as they are, and her ambitions go way beyond.
Well, it's definitely rooted in that, because you find out in season 2 that Camilla had been changed by this really old vampire. And we should preference that Castlevania is not an animated show for children. It's absolutely an animated show for adults.
Yes.
But the way she describes it is that she was essentially kept for his amusement, for his pleasures, for whatever. And then one night she just decided to get rid of him, and she does. And ever since that happened, she's trying to show that no man has power over her, essentially, because she doesn't want to be caged in that way. Mm-hmm. The same, like, I didn't like her from Go, because she went ahead and insulted Lisa, who was Dracula's human wife, who was burnt at the stake as a witch in season 1. And it was horrible. It was gruesome. I felt so bad for Dracula. I don't blame him for all that heartache. I also feel bad for their son, Alucard, who we meet in, like, the middle of season 1. Because Trevor Belmont and Cypher, who is this magician, yes, she can do magic, find him and awaken him. And he's all about defeating his father, because he knows that his mother would not want Dracula to do what he's doing, which is essentially genocide against humans because of what they did to Lisa. So they defeat Dracula at the end of season 2. Season 3, you see essentially Hector. Poor Hector. Hector and Isaac are humans who are master forgers, which essentially they take dead bodies of either animals or humans and they reanimate them into demons that do their bidding, which is essentially Dracula's bidding. Mm-hmm. And Isaac, who had been a slave in somewhere in the Middle East. It's never really clear where he's from, but he is a fanatic believer in Dracula and wants to see Dracula's promise fulfilled. Hector, I feel so bad for Hector. Poor Hector. He is taken as a prisoner by Camilla and is essentially a prisoner and is treated as a prisoner. And Lenore, who is part of Camilla's, like, sister coven, manipulates him and is really awful to him. But in a way, it's like also another way of, like, her surviving Camilla. Mm-hmm. Not that I condone Lenore's actions, but Hector, oh, my poor sweet Hector. And we also, in season 3, we also pick up where Trevor Belmont and Cypher left off. They're traveling the land, defeating the leftover demons, and they stop at this village, which is has these really weird priests from this priory. We have no idea what's going on, but everything feels very off in like the extreme way. And we meet this new character named Saint Germain.
He annoyed me. Like
Another character we don't really know that much about upon first meeting. It's always like what I really like about this season, like it all evolves over the course of the episodes. We also find out that Trevor and Cypher are together, and I love it. It's great. Their dynamic is beautifully written anyway. But Alucard is now living on his own in his father's castle, and with like the memory of his mother, of his childhood, and these two siblings, these twins, come to want to learn about vanquishing vampires, and they don't fully trust him. Again, there's manipulation, and poor Alucard. They try to kill him. Doesn't work. He then starts doing what his father did and putting people on pikes to ward off anybody else coming. And he's just miserable and sorrowful. And I want to wrap him up in a blanket and hug him and tell him everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Everything's going to be fine.
So a lot happens. And like in all these seasons, there's so much that happens. But Alucard essentially is off moping, understandably so. He's been hurt. He's been hurt bad.
The worst possible way ever.
Yeah, so it's quite understandable. But eventually he does the right thing. He receives a call for aid from a nearby village.
And that doesn't happen until season 4.
Yeah, in season 4
there's a few months has passed between season 3 and season 4, and when we see Alucard in season 4, he's a mess.
Yeah.
He's a mess. He's
becoming like Belmont. I love every time he says like, "Oh my God, I'm becoming Belmont."
Well, I love their relationship as well. Yeah. Because when in season 1, when Cypher says, "I'm gonna go and get help. Can you two behave?" And they're all like, "Yeah." And then Trevor goes, "Eat and die."
Yeah, I like how when he hits him below the belt and he goes, "Please, we're not in a tavern."
Yeah.
I do love their dynamic. They love each other, just can't really admit it yet.
No, they're brothers for sure.
Yeah, I do love their dynamic. I love their relationship, but I love like how he looks at himself and then he goes, "Oh my God, I'm becoming Belmont."
Yeah,
and I guess that's what he needs to kind of wake up and bathe and resume grooming himself, so to speak. But he does receive call for assistance. This man arrives. Unfortunately, the man has passed away. A note is tied to his
side has been ripped out.
Yeah, and there's a note attached to his hand, and the note is a call for aid from this village, which is probably about 10 miles away.
Yeah.
Alucard goes. The village is quite indefensible. It's in the middle of mountains, and it's been under attack for a few months now, or maybe it's a few days, or I can't really remember. From essentially night creatures of any kind.
Night creatures are the demons that I said it earlier. Forge Masters, thank you. Create.
Yeah.
For Dracula's army.
Yeah, and it's one moment that I really enjoyed was when you meet Isaac again, and he's in the city that's basically been taken over, and he has his night creatures, and there's the night creature that kind of resembles a praying mantis, for lack of a better term. And he goes to Isaac because Isaac is making them bury the dead or bury the bodies that are basically no longer salvageable, and he can't do anything with them. And the creature asks him, "I know what my purpose is. I kill, I feed. Why are you making us do this? It's against my nature." And I'm sorry, I'm going to cough again because I need water.
How dare you?
And he's having this existential crisis, so to speak. But I love the dialogue between him and Isaac, because he wants to know, why are you making us do this? And Isaac definitely, I don't think he's operating with a full deck entirely, but considering his backstory, it's okay. But he essentially states that, they're entitled to the dignity of a burial.
Yeah.
And also, he's repairing the city so that people can return to it and resume life.
The way I look at Isaac, it's like he is almost Dracula, but he has the humanity that Dracula had lacked without Lisa.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
No, definitely. But I just love their conversation. I love how Isaac says, like, have a berry, and that throws the insect creature, like, for a loop. He goes, a berry? And he eats it, and eating the berry, it unlocks his human memory. Mm-hmm. And I like how Isaac says, that, the fact that a part of you still remains that remembers what it was like to eat a berry. Mm-hmm. And you really have to feel so sorry, too, for these night creatures, because there's, like, one, I think it's like an offshoot storyline. It takes place many, many years after these events, and it's the son, I think, of Trevor. And he's like, doing what his father was doing. He's sort of picking up the family business. And you see how these night creatures are made. And there's one in particular where, like, he still remembers. There's a scene where he cries. Mm-hmm. Like, he's in, and I think he was a musician. He was a singer. I'm sorry. He was an opera singer. And you can see that he still remembers, mm-hmm. and he's still moved, and you see there's a scene where he's crying in his cell. Yeah. So you have to also remember that these people were humans that were twisted against their will, and now they are these creatures. Yeah. And they had lives. And I think a part of Isaac recognizes that and acknowledges it. Right. So I just love that whole dialogue because there's so much going on there. Yeah. Between the two of them. And I also like how prior to him going to see Isaac, he's holding a doll. Yep. And there's another night creature that's burying a body, and the night creature asks, like, what are you doing with the doll? And he says, oh, I thought she should have it. Mm-hmm. So the fact that he even says that means that there's still a little bit of the humanity left. And he says, oh, I don't like, it's not because, like, it's just because I think she should have it. And, like, he basically, like, goes, oh, never mind, I'm going to leave. Mm-hmm. And the guy says, aren't you taking it? He goes, no, it's a funny moment, but at the same time, it also shows that these were creatures that were made into creatures against their will. They didn't choose to be this way. Nope. They are this way now, and in many ways, their nature has been twisted and corrupted, and now they're essentially slaves, and it is very heartbreaking when you really think about it. Yeah. I also love the conversation between two of the vampires that are part of Camilla's coven. Mm-hmm. There's the warrior one and the more diplomatic one. Yep. And the fact that the diplomatic one is questioning, like, Marina. why are we doing this? Like, what is the purpose?
Sorry, guys, I just want to get the characters.
Yeah. But I just love that conversation because, like, at first these kind of goals seem lofty, they seem important, but when you factor in, that the humans are going to always want to rebel, the humans are going to always want to obtain their freedom, and will it be worth the cost of what we're doing, all this death, all this bloodshed, and even the fact that they too will have no lives because their lives will be just completely devoted to maintaining basically keeping the populace under control.
So it's Marina, so it's Miranda, who's the diplomat.
Miranda, okay.
Marana is the Viking warrior.
I'm not going to remember that, so keep that up.
With the crow on her shoulder, which I absolutely...
Yeah. Okay. And, like, I just love the scene when the humans, like, enter the camp and she puts on her armor and she tells her, like, friend, like, go into the coffin, you'll be safe. And she realizes they're rebelling. Yeah. Even though they're weaker, they're not going to take our leadership sort of lying down. There will always be rebellions. And it reminds you of, like, these great empires, like Rome being one example, where they sort of stretch themselves so thin that you have all these empires that there's no way of maintaining the control of, and eventually your empire crumbles. Mm-hmm. And these are the conversations that the two of them are having. And at the end, they both realize, this is a fever dream, so to speak, and it's not going to be sustainable. And this is not what we want to do with the rest of our lives. Right. So even they recognize that Camilla, at this point, she's lost sight of what the original intention was. And even Lenore says that it wasn't always like this. Like when she's talking to Hector toward the end, she says originally her goal was just, there was a purpose, but now it's just been lost. Yeah. Which is what often happens. You may start off with good intentions and then along the way it just completely, disintegrates. So I like that these conversations are had. I do love, one of the moments that I do love is when the night creatures invade. And all of Hector's, like, when he plants those, like, eyeball looking things all over the place and you're wondering, what is he doing?
Yeah.
Which shows that even though he's caged, he's finding ways to work around his cage.
Yes.
And I think it also shows that Camilla, because of her hatred and dislike of people, she's underestimated Hector and
absolutely.
his intelligence and his shrewdness.
So you can see that from the get-go.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to make a correction. It's Morana is the diplomat. It's Striga, who's the Viking
Yeah.
warrior.
And I like Striga's design. It's very interesting. Yeah, it's a very interesting design, but I like their dynamic. I love the conversations that they're having, and the real sort of conundrums that are arising.
Yeah.
And, is basically maintaining the empire worth, like, me potentially losing you, or you losing me, or not having a life? And it's like, no, at the end they decide, no, we're heading, where they go, west or east, wherever they decide, to be honest,
I don't remember.
We're just gonna keep on riding. Let's never mind.
So essentially, Camilla is left on her own to fight against Isaac, and his doesn't end well for her.
No, she ends up sort of killing herself. She doesn't give Isaac the satisfaction of killing her. She does it herself.
Yeah.
Lenore, unfortunately, realizes that she doesn't want to be in a cage. I was happy that Hector didn't try to stop her. I mean, you can see that he's pained by it, but at the same time, I was afraid he was going to end up being like, you're going to be captive until I tell you otherwise. So I think that shows that he did have affection and care for her in his own way.
Oh, absolutely.
And that he did allow her that dignity of finally dying and, And also you think about, these people have been around for like centuries. Like after a while, it's like, but I do like that Belmont, and I'm sorry, his girlfriend's name is
Sypha.
I love that Sypha's pregnant at the end. I love
the fact that before or after Trevor comes back from defeating death, we don't know if he's going to come back, but I love the fact that when he tells her that he loves her, and she admits to loving him while he's in her arms, and I'm like, oh guys, you're couple goals. I love you.
I know, you fight, you bicker, but you fight together and you slay things together. That's couple. But I also love Alucard, how it shows that Alucard actually cares for them as well. When Sypha is thinking about, because at this point she believes that Belmont, who has fought Death, because Death wanted to bring back Dracula as well, because Dracula can accomplish what he cannot.
And Death had actually been the sole driver of wanting Dracula to come back to life.
Yeah.
So essentially, like, the other vampires were his minions.
Yeah.
Whether they knew it or didn't know it.
Because he essentially can't reach into hell and get Dracula, which obviously pisses him off, because I'm Death, I should be able to do this. And also, there hasn't been the body count that he needs. So he wants Dracula to sort of start killing people so he can get more souls and just sort of maintain his purpose, because it's almost like he's without purpose.
Yeah.
Because no one's really dying as much as he would like. So Belmont defeats him. At this point, Sypha doesn't know that he's alive. She's pregnant, and she's saying, like, I have to be around my family. I have to be around my people. Alucard basically in a very beautiful moment says, like, you can have family here.
Yeah.
You can have that community here, which is essentially trying to tell her, like, I want you to stay, without really saying I want you to stay.
But what I really like that before this conversation is that Gerda, the leader of the village who needed his help, how she and Alucard have that conversation, and I'm like, oh, you guys,
they're gonna be more than besties.
Oh, you guys. I was so happy for Alucard. I was like, you deserve happiness.
Yeah, because the siblings, reasonably so. If you wake up and someone's trying to kill you, it'll basically cause you to have trust issues.
Oh yeah.
So thankfully, Gerda, and also she can sort of meet him, like, I love the barbs. I love how she's like, it's not really right. Like, I love their banter. Yeah. And it's definitely hinted that they could potentially be more than just friends that banter together.
I like to think that
it's nice that he'll find someone too that will understand him the way his father had his mom, like, that he can find something too. That he's not essentially doomed to be alone for all eternity. Well,
we don't
he
want
couldn't
that.
live that long, but
Yeah. I mean, he
Yeah.
can turn her if he wanted to.
Yeah. So, and the good news is Belmont is alive, and
Yeah.
Belmont knew that she was pregnant, and I love how she smacks him. She's like, someone kill him.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and I love Alucard and him. They talk about, like where
Yeah.
Alucard essentially admits, that he's very happy. He doesn't understand, like, first he doesn't understand why he's happy.
Yeah.
And I like how he's holding his hand because Belmont's been injured and all that stuff. And it's a very sweet moment. The show does character development, because when you think about how Belmont and Alucard started
yeah.
off versus where they are in the end, there's
The character development of every character, even some of the side characters, are so well developed. And the writing for this, because this show is essentially based off of a video game.
Yeah.
And it's sequels like to the video games.
Yeah.
So to have something written so well on the material that they have already to pull from is great.
Yeah, so it's a nice moment, and like and I like how he knew she was pregnant, so he's like, he's not completely
Ignorant.
lacking in awareness, and it's like he knew, like, it's just so many nice moments. I like how there can be moments of complete humor and like the most dire of situations, and they're cracking jokes, like when they're battling the troll things in the field, and she's like shooting fireballs and she's cursing. He's like, oh my god, did you just curse? She's like, yes, I'm becoming like you. Like, I just love, she's like, I'm cursing, and she's just like shooting the fireballs.
Before you, I didn't speak like this.
And I like it too. Like, I was saying, can you just like kill the troll things and then have this conversation? It's like, this is not the place.
Oh god.
So yeah, and then at the end, it also hints that Dracula and his wife come back, that they're given a second chance.
Which I absolutely love.
Yeah.
Because
so like, not to ask a dumb question, are they back like in our plane, or are they like, because part of this series too was, especially the main villain guy, Germain, who I could not stand, who essentially was willing to have chaos because he was trying to find this woman that he fell in love with.
Yeah.
Who she entered another dimension, and she's been hopping to different dimensions, and he's trying to essentially find her.
Yeah.
So he's essentially willing to bring about chaos just to find, which is, I understand, but that's essentially why he's doing what he's doing. So are Dracula and his wife like in our plane of existence, or like did they go to another?
Because it's not specific.
Okay.
But I think that they are on this plane of existence.
Because Dracula's well known. Like, how would he hide?
They leave to go to London.
Oh, okay, I guess. Okay.
Yeah, they both decide to leave to go to London.
Okay, all right. I guess he can be low-key in London. Because I was just curious, like, how he would avoid people, like, knowing who he is. But, okay. So it's hinted at that, Alucard's parents will have a chance to live the lives they never could live. And that, thankfully, with her influence, he'll be the person he should have been, so I'm kind of happy that they got that second chance at life again.
Yes, because they were cruelly split by that stupid bishop.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Yeah, so it was a nice conclusion to the series.
But there's a spinoff too.
Oh,
called Castlevania Nocturnal, and it follows Trevor and Sypha's,
which I've watched, which is really good.
descendant. I haven't watched it yet.
Oh, it's really good, and there were a lot of moments where it's so emotional, where you feel like there's that opera singer character that I mentioned earlier, where it's like you feel so much for him, but it also introduces good questions where, like, even though they're monsters, it doesn't mean that they behave monstrously.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a nice moment. There's so many good characters too. So when you do watch it, I think, that was really good. I actually watched this, and I thought that was the third season, which is why I was so confused. I was like, why does everything that I'm telling you, like, I'm so wrong.
Doesn't make sense to me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I thoroughly enjoyed this series. It's another really great animated adult series that I saw all the seasons up to the end of season 3, so I knew what was going on, and then season 4 was just great. I would definitely I watched it twice already without season 4. Now I watched season 4, but I would definitely watch it again because the episodes are
very
short. Yeah, they're like 20 to 5 to 30 minutes, which
it's
I love.
It's very easy to get through.
Oh,
You
absolutely.
can
But
get through.
the time of the episodes does not hinder the information that they give us.
No, you get a lot.
Yeah.
The story that they're able to put into, and it's essentially 10 episodes.
Yeah.
Per season.
Well,
or
season 1 is I think only 5 episodes.
Okay, so what the story that they managed to give you in such short a time is it's really good.
Yeah.
So I think it's a credit to the story writing, the
Oh,
writers
absolutely.
of the show.
Because it's not like they give like an information dump within like the first episode,
No,
and
no.
there's not a lot of like exhibition
Yeah.
because you know what's going on already.
Yeah.
But they spread it out nicely between like the first 5 episodes of
Yeah.
season 1, and then season 2 it's 10, and then season 3 it's 10, and then season 4 it's 10. So I think after like the great success of season 1, they were given enough money to do 10 episodes in the next
Oh, okay.
3 seasons.
Yeah. So, and also the voice actors do a terrific job. Like when I heard Richard Armitage, like at first I couldn't put him. Then as watching, I was like, oh, and I'm sorry, this is gonna be a dumb question. Does he voice Belmont or Alucard?
He's Trevor Belmont.
Okay, yeah. I was like, oh, him. It's like I reckon. Like it didn't register. I was like, oh yes, I know who you are. He's a very handsome man. And has such a nice voice.
Graham McTavish, who all of my Outlander fans know who he is. He voices Dracula. Yeah.
So yeah. So before we conclude, was there anything else that you wanted to say?
No, I thoroughly enjoyed this series. I'm definitely going to check out Nocturne because I would love to see how their descendant essentially has taken up the mantle of like Demon Slayer. I know I saw a clip from the from Nocturne that Alucard makes an appearance, and he's very different from the original series. So I want to know about that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us again. You can watch this on Netflix. As always, like, subscribe, let us know what you thought about the final season, and we will see you next time. Bye, everyone.
bye.